Okay, well, let's get started. My name is Mark Pulowski. I'm with WebAge Solutions, and I'm going to be delivering this webinar today. We're going to be talking about Angular, and specifically about creating Angular libraries. Okay. So it's a webinar format, so everybody's on mute. Okay. Later on, there'll be some time for question and answer. There's also possibility for you to open up the Q&A box and ask questions in there while I'm talking. I'll try to answer whatever I can, as long as it fits in with the flow of what we're going through. And then if there's anything that's kind of outside that but still important, we'll take care of that towards the end of the webinar. Okay. Okay, so let's take a look at what it is that we're going to be going over. We'll talk a little bit about Angular modules. Angular is a modular application or a framework. It's delivered in modules. When you create an Angular application, you are installing modules, and they come in the form of NPM packages or Node Package Manager packages. So any particular Angular application will import several modules from Angular to work with, and you can create your applications like that. But what we're talking about today is creating libraries, which is creating your own modules and packages. And the reason why you'd want to do that is as your application gets larger, you're going to be separating out various components and services and things like that that you're creating into functional groups that, so items that need to be associated together will be together in one module. So it's only natural to move from there to say, well, I've created this module full of maybe components. Why don't I take those components and create a package out of them? Okay. The idea behind a package then is that you can reuse that code a lot easier. You can let other developers use the code. You can use the code in your other projects just by installing with npm into your project. Okay, so the way we're going to do this is through a feature that was added to AngularCLI in Angular 6, or the 6th version of that. Right now, AngularCLI used to be a separate project, and it's coordinated now with Angular so that any updates appear simultaneously. So specifically, we're going to be using AngularCLI 7 and working with an Angular 7 project, but what you're seeing here, pretty much all of it would work with Angular 6 if you're working with that. Okay. So we'll create a project, add a library to the project, and a library is something specific in Angular. So you're not just going to create a project, add a bunch of stuff to it, and then later on decide that you want to create that into a library. That's a little bit more messy. The way that they suggest is that you create a project, add a library into the project, which would be like a skeleton of a library, and then add anything you wanted to have in that library or in that package to the library that you created. And then all the facilities for packaging it up are already available. Okay. We'll see how to export a package from the library, use an internal npm repository. We'll do that towards the end. Okay, so let's get started. The first thing I did, I'll show you in a second, we'll bring down a command prompt. Let's minimize this for now. Okay, so we have a command prompt here, and the first thing we'll do is just check to make sure we have the right versions of things. So with Angular 7, you can use either Node 8 or Node 10. Either of those will work. I'm using Node Version Manager, NVM, and I can do NVM list to show the different versions of Node that I have installed. If you don't want to use NVM, then you can just install a single version of Node by going up to the node.org site and downloading one of their install packages. NVM Node Version Manager is nice because you can move between different versions. Currently, I'm set up to use version 10.13.0, which is the latest stable version. Okay, we can take a look at then just to verify, and let's type in node dash version, and we'll see that we're actually using that version. The other thing that I install, or from here, we would install Angular. Okay, so to install the Angular, the latest version of Angular, you would do this: npm install -g at angular/CLI. Now, if you need to create the latest version of Angular, then you do it like this. You notice there's no at and numbers at the end of it, right? 1.1.0 or something like that. So it's going to take the latest version of Angular CLI, which is going to be the one that creates the latest version of Angular. So in this case, when I install this, it'll give the Angular CLI that's going to produce an Angular 7 project. Now, if you're still working with Angular 6, that's fine. You can install Angular CLI at would look something like this, at 6.x. Okay, so it'll get the latest 6 version of Angular, which will create an Angular 6 project. Okay, so this takes a little while. I've already done it, and we can verify this. Well, we won't do npm list. That'll take a little while too. But basically, it was installed globally, so now the ng executable is available for us to use, and we can do ng, which stands for Angular CLI -- version. We'll see that we have the version 7. Okay, this is nice too. It dumps all the other versions that you might need. Angular CLI 7.03 Node. Okay, and then the various versions of Angular packages. Okay, so that's Angular CLI. The other thing that we're going to we'll look at later on, is working with something called sinopia. So you would install sinopia like this. Again, I've already installed it, so we didn't have to spend the time waiting for it to be downloaded. But npm install -g sinopia. So what is sinopia? Sinopia is an npm repository that you can use locally. Okay. Normally, when you do npm install goes up to a repository on the cloud or on the internet that is common to all users. Okay, so no matter where you are installing from, it'll install from things that are in that repository. Now, what we're talking about here is creating libraries. You don't necessarily want to have libraries that you create in your corporation or your organization published up to that repository, the standard repository, because then it's available to anybody. Okay, so what you want to do is you want to install it to a local npm repository, and sinopia also acts as a flow through. So what happens then is once sinopia is started, so you would install it like this, you'd run sinopia to start it. As soon as you've done that, every time your npm does an install, it will make a request to sinopia, which will then make the request. If it doesn't have it in its own repository locally, it'll make the request of the standard repository on the internet. Okay, so in this way, these the things flow through. I generally like to start off without taxing it too much and having it copy things into its own repository. So we'll start up that later when we're going to work with the publishing of the package. Okay, so that's already installed, and I guess sinopia, we should be able to get a version from that. Okay, so it's version 1.4.0 of sinopia. Okay, the next thing we would do is we would create a new app, ng new my app. Okay, now we've already created the app because, again, anybody who knows working with Angular CLI, it could take a good 6-7 minutes with a good connection for it to download everything. So I've actually created 2 directories, my app and myapp2. Okay, and what we can do is we can go into myapp2. Okay, and we'll take a look at that. So the way you start the application is going to be, let's see, npm serve, npm serve dash dash open. Now, at this point, this is just a standard project. Okay, nothing special about it. It's the same project that you would normally create. Let's see, what doesn't it like here? Oh, it should be ng serve. Sorry. So it's using the AngularCLI ng serve. So that's going to open that up, and we'll take a look at the standard application. The way that you create a library is you first create a standard application like this, then you'll add the library into it. So that'll be the next part as soon as we see that this is up and running. Now, over the course of this webinar, we're going to open up several command prompts. In fact, I think there's 4 or 5 that you need to open for the various parts of what we're doing. I'll try to explain which one we're in whenever we get to one so it's not too confusing. And let's bring this down here. So this is the application. We don't need to see it in such great detail. And generally what we'll do in an application like this, it has a standard file component that it's showing. Okay, we don't need to see that component. So generally what we'll do is we will go to the code. So let's go to the code here, myapp2, and we'll just change it. Source, let's see, app, my component. And what we're going to do is we are going to just make this an internal template, right? Instead of having the template be external, we'll just do this template, and then we'll just put something in here. I'll put h1 myapp2. Okay, so we'll have this myapp2 h1. Okay, I did the same thing in an earlier project, and let's just see. This should recompile, so it's working on the recompile. Once it's recompiled, it'll show the application. Okay, so it says myapp2. And so we're going to have an application that basically is like that, and we're going to add a component to it by creating a library, and then stitching that library component back in. Okay, so that's the first prompt. The next thing that we're going to do, okay, is we're going to create the Angular library itself. So let's go out to the, we'll create another command prompt. It's going to be command prompt number 2. Okay, because we want to leave that running, and it's okay to leave it running. There's no problem with that. Okay, so here we're going to go into this directory where we have this, which is going to be lab Angular 7 cd myapp2. Okay, so now from within that project directory that you just created, you're going to run this command here. And I'll paste it in here, and we'll take a look at it. ng, so Angular CLI. G for generate. What you want to generate is a library. We're going to call the library mylib. And we're going to give a prefix. So we'll make the prefix ml for mylib. Okay, so the prefix is going to go in front of the selector for the component. So it'll be ml dash whatever the component name is. So we hit enter on that. Now this is the part where we'll see it create some files, but then it's going to go off to npm install, and that takes a little while. So we'll jump from here to the project where that's already been created. We'll take a look at that. but let's just get it to the first part where ng dumps the information about what it's creating. Okay, so that's the first part, right? It's creating a bunch of things in the mylib directory, okay, to set it up for the project. Then it's going to, well, the first thing you should notice is that it's creating a projects directory. The projects directory is underneath myapp2. Okay, so the projects directory is where the lib project is going to be. So it's really important to be able to separate in your mind where the current project is, which is the myapp2, and where is the mylib project. Okay, so it creates that projects directory, mylib, which is the exact library you're creating, creates files in there as if it's a whole separate sub-project with its own source directory, okay, and a bunch of files. So that's going to cook for a little bit, and we'll take a look at the files that are in there. Okay, so we'll go to myapp2, and we will refresh it, and we'll see that under myapp2 there's going to be a projects directory. And under the projects directory is its own package.json file. Okay, so there's another package.json that is specifically for the library that you're creating. Okay. Then there's going to be a source directory, and in the source directory you can have this thing public underscore API. Okay, for a library this is going to say what's exported from the library. So if we take a look at that, you'll see that it's exporting this thing here, mylib.service, which is mylib.service.ts, mylib.component, and mylib.module. Okay, these are standard items that are being exported from the library that was just created. Okay, so it has a service, it has a component, it has a module that you can add to. Okay, if you wanted to, you could delete all these things and go in and do your own -lib slash mylib dot, you know, and whatever the name of your component is, component 3, or, you know, my great text component or something like that. Okay, so these are going to point to what's in the lib directory. Okay, and in the lib directory we'll see, for example, we have a component, and the component just says mylib works. Okay, now the question from here is that, well, how do I get this component? Assuming that you know that you can modify this component and make it into whatever you want, we're just going to use it as is. Okay, we're not going to make it fancy, but important thing to know about working with libraries is how do we get this library to, one, compile, because you need to compile the library, and two, how do you stitch it into that main application, the myapp2. Okay, so let's take a look back at the first prompt and see if it's done. Okay, compiled successfully, that part's done. Then take a look, and it looks like it has finished adding the library. Okay. Okay, so what we need to do is, since it already has some components in it, we're going to build that library. We build it right here with this command, ng build mylib. Okay, watch, but let's see, mylib, and we should be able to do it right from this directory. Let's just double check. The watch is going to let it rebuild every time you modify something. Okay, so we'll just sit and let it start up the build process for the lib. Now the build process for the lib is going to create a distribution directory right off the root of myapp2, and it's going to put the built version of mylib in there. Okay, so that's what we're waiting for it to do. Meantime, let's go back to here so we can take a look at this. So here we have projects. Go to myapp2. We refresh it, see if it's created any of the directories yet. Not still working on that. Okay, myapp2 projects, and we'll refresh it again. Okay, and go back to the build. So If you were quick, you just saw that it created this distribution directory. So it's still in the build process. And in the distribution directory, let's get this away so it's not confusing. In the distribution directory, we have mylib. Okay, that's going to be the library that you're working with, that was created when you added the mylib library, and it has that component, the service, and the component service and module in it. Okay. So what we want to do is add this component so that we can use it. Let's take a look at the component itself. We can look at that under projects, mylib, and take a look at the mylib component. And we'll notice that it has this selector ml-mylib. Okay. We can add that to our myapp2 component. Okay, so here's the component we changed before. Remember, let's do this. I'll fix these errors in a second. Okay, first thing here is we're going to use a backtick character, so we can use multiple lines in our template. Okay, so we want to add this mylib component. Okay, that's in the library. What we'll see when we actually try to run that is that it should produce an error at this point because we haven't imported the library yet. Okay, so let's just double check that. If I hit F12 here and go to the console, we should see that it's complaining about just that problem. Okay, mylib is not a known element. Okay, so how do we make it a known element? Okay, what we need to do is we need to go into myapp2 and go under source and go under app module. We need to add some things in here. And the first thing we need to do is we need to import mylib. Okay, and let's see. Then we need to take mylib and add it to the declarations array because we're going to declare it. Okay. Now let's see if it's okay with that. Cannot find module mylib. Okay. So there's a couple things that need to happen for it to make sure that it can find this mylib module. Okay. Let's go back and recompile this because you see, as we added some of this, the compilation stopped working. Of the myapp2. Okay, so this, clear the screen, and just gserve open again. Okay, because from the time that we first started looking at the application, when it was served, and now we've created the library. Okay, so otherwise wouldn't know anything about it. So we'll let that run. And the second one, let's just double check everything's good there. Okay, so this is the build. We're just jumping for a second while that's working to the build of the mylib. Okay. And you see that it has created the build and then copied it from the project's mylib directory into the distribution mylib directory, okay, where it needs to be. I'll go back and see if this will take another minute or so to finish compiling. Okay. Okay, so now it was able to find that component. Okay, this mylib works is from the component that's in the library. Okay, the library was compiled, okay, and added to the distribution directory. Now, it's a default capability of Angular in the current versions that if you add something to the distribution directory, it will look there, okay, for a package. Because you'll notice that we don't have the mylib package under my app node modules. If I go down here, you're not going to find it there, right? My app, mylib doesn't appear in here, okay? So it must know to look elsewhere, okay? And the elsewhere here is this distribution directory. So it knows to look there for other packages that might have been compiled, okay? That's going to work for this project, but what about if we wanted to do this for another project? Okay, if we wanted to do this for another project, we would, there's some other steps that we would take in order to export the package and move it over. Okay, so let's take a look now at, we've got the two compiles working. The lib is being compiled and the application is being compiled. Let's see if we can get them to work together. Let's close out what we have here, and we'll go to the project, mylib component, and we're just going to change this to mylib works great. Okay, we'll save that. What we should see is that the lib is getting recompiled. Okay, and if we take a look at the output, at some point this is going to when that's finished there, okay, we should see that this starts up and pushes the lib. So what's happened here is really kind of cool. You've compiled, the lib is compiled automatically. The regular project, myapp2, was watching the directory where that has been published to and saw that it changed, and it recompiled, and now you have the recompiled item in here. Okay, so that's the component that we're working with. Okay, so let's see what we want to do to take this component and package it up. Okay, just say this is the first step in using it in another project. Okay, so we have it in this distribution directory, and it seems to be working. Just say this is what we want, and we don't need anything else in there. We will open up a prompt onto that location. So let's do this and go to cd /, and this is myapp2 / distribution. Okay, and if we look in there, that's our compiled mylib. Okay, it's still got a full directory structure in it though. So what we're going to do is we're going to move into it, mylib, and take a look at that directory. Okay, so we have a bunch of things. This is now not just a regular project. It looks sort of like an Angular project, but it's not. It's a package. It has a package.json file, and it can be posted up to the npm repository if you want to do that. What we're going to do first, and this is a necessary step before you put something up to the repository, is that you need to pack it. Okay, so we go into the mylib directory here, and we do npm node package manager pack. Okay. What this is going to do is create a tar.gz file, which is an archive file that contains the module or the package. Okay, so it mentions what it's doing, and it creates this mylib 0.0.1.tgz. Okay, now I'd rather have that be version 1. So let's go in and edit the package.json file here under mylib. So mylib, go to its package.json file, and I'm going to say that this is going to be version 1.00 of mylib. Okay, there's a bunch of other fields that you can add in here, description fields and all kinds of things that we know from existing packages that have been published out to the NPM repository. We're not going to add a bunch of those things here, but you would just go in here and edit it to add that kind of information. Okay. So we have version, which is going to be version 1 now. So let's see what happens now if we do this packaging again. Do npm pack. Okay, this time it's going to create mylib-1.0.0.tgz. Okay. And let's take a look at another project, because what we're going to do is we're going to take a separate project, not the my app2 project. We're going to go to this other project called, we'll leave this prompt open. We'll open up another prompt for this other project. And it's going to be called random app. So let's go to random app. And we're going to run that ng serve --open. So this is going to be a completely separate application that we want to use that component in. Okay, it doesn't like the port. --port, we'll give it a different port, 4201. Now I already created this. It's just going to have the standard component. We've done the same thing. We've changed the component to just have a header random app. So we'll take a look at that while this is starting. Take a look at the code. Okay. So this is going to be, this is all my lab work Angular 7, which is just a project directory. And then underneath that we have the various projects. Here's random app. So we'll go to random app source, app component, and we see that what should come up for the main component is just random app like this. Okay, so let's see how it's cooking. Okay, it's building, and when it's done building, it's going to open up a browser. We should be able to see that. Okay, that opens up the browser to random app. Okay, which just says random app, and that makes sense based on what we've modified it to here. Okay, so that's the template. But it doesn't have mylib. So let's add mylib into it. And the way we're going to do that is with another command prompt, because this one's running. We want to leave it running. This one we were working with the mylibs on. Let's leave that as is. There are some command prompts that you can get or applications that let you do command prompts in tabbed interface, which is nice. I don't have that set up for today. And we'll go to random app. Okay, so what I want to do with random app is I basically want to do this npm, let's clear it first, npm install mylib. Okay, now if I do that, right now it's not going to do what I want. Okay, because what I want it is to get the lib I just created and give me that lib back and install it. Okay, so this is not going to do that. What this is going to do, because we've installed sinopia, but we haven't started it, and we haven't added mylib to it. This is going to go up to the mylib. I'm sorry, it's going to go up to the repository on the internet, the npm repository, and if somebody at some point had uploaded a mylib project to that, it's going to get that package. So I don't want to get some random package. I want to get the one I'm looking for. And you can actually do that by doing this. LabWork 7 and then my app 2. You'll see in a second what's going on here. Distribution dash mylib dash, and now we're going to put the name of the file. Okay, so this is what we're going to do. We're going to tell it to install this right from the TG file. Actually, we're going to do it from this one, 1.0. Okay, So this is one way to share your packages. You just point to the package. And it's taking its time. Okay, so you see it's copying it into the node modules directory of random app. Okay, 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 so that's good. That's what we want. And let's see. The one thing I didn't do there is I should have done --save. Okay, to add it into the random app package.json. So I'll just let it do that. But at the same time, while it's doing that, let's go take a look now at the node, two places, the node modules. Well, we'll take a look at that first. Now under node modules, under random app, we should see mylib. Okay, so let's verify that. Okay, we'll go up to mylib. And you see mylib right here. Okay, that's the one we created. The package.json should say 100. Okay, so that's the one that we created. So now that it's in there, we should be able to use it. So let's go back to the project and see what we might need to make sure that that works. First, let's close up this node modules directory. It takes up a lot of space there. And go back to the component. See that the component, we want to use, this is in random app. Okay, so let's add this in here. ml-mylib, which is the name of the component. Let's add that ml-mylib. Okay, so we added that in the second line. We'll save that. Then we'll go to app module, and let's add this to the app module. Okay, we need to import mylib. Okay, we've added it to node modules, but the this particular application doesn't know about it yet. So we'll add it to the module. Then we're going to declare it. Okay, so now it can be used anywhere in the application. We've used it here in app component. Again, this is under random app, you know, totally separate app from the one where we created the library. And let's just go and take a look at that. Okay, so random app now has, let me just show you, I'm going to refresh it. Mylib works great, which happens to be the text of the mylib component. Okay, so what we've seen here is one way to get it into this application, this random app. Okay, now there's another way that we can do it. You know, here what we did was we did install, and then we pointed to the archive file that we created when we packaged it up, mylib 1.0.0. Okay. So what I want to do is let's go back and package it, and we'll call our new package 1.0.1, just so that we can see, or we'll call it 123, something like that. Okay, to do that, we need to go back to our app distribution. Okay, mylib, which is what we're distributing, package.json, and we're going to change this to 123. Because we want to be able to see when we're using a different source of it that it's changed. So once we've changed that there, we want to go and repack it. Okay, so now we're going to do npm pack again. So now we should have a third tgz file when this packing is done. So it's mylib 123. Okay, What we're going to do with mylib123 is we're going to add it to the local sinopia package manager. Okay, so let's do this here. First thing we need to do is we need to run sinopia. Okay, and let's see. We'll do that. Let's see if we have an open command prompt. Okay, what were we doing on here? We were doing npm install. Okay. No, we'll still need that. Okay, so we'll need that command prompt for later. We'll leave it in that directory. And we'll open one up just for starting up sinopia because it's going to be an application that runs. It has to run in the background. And we don't really need to go to any specific directory for this, but we'll go to the lab work directory anyway because just in case we need to save something or do something there. So we're going to do a sinopia and start it. Okay, now it's going to come up and it's going to say that it's sitting on this address, HTTP localhost 4873. Okay, so what we need to do so that this interacts with Node Package Manager, we can do that in this prompt. We need to set the registry. Now normally the registry is not set. You do npm config list, and this is going to, you won't see the registry listed here. The registry is just the registration that points to the repository where it's going to try to get its components from. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to reset this because it's currently set to the default. We're going to set it to the sinopia repository that we just created or just started up. Okay. Now, to verify, because that goes by real quick, we'll do npm config list again and see that we're currently pointing to the registry right here on this line. It's hard to, I don't think I can show you here, that line. Okay, so we're pointing to that. That's the sinopia local registry. So, and what we want to do with the local registry is we want to push this version up into there. Okay. Now, in order to push the version up in there, which is that new archive file, we need to log in. Okay, we're going to do this on the other prompt. Okay, because we're in the, let's see, mylib distribution mylib directory. Okay, so first thing let's do star.tgz. Oops, star.tgz, and just take a look at what we have. These are the ones that we could possibly publish. Okay, mylib 001, 100, or 123. So we're going to publish mylib 123. But first we're going to add user. We're going to do npm add user. Okay, and the username, I'll just say Mark and pass. And okay, so now we're logged in. If you don't log in, you can't do this next step, okay, which is to publish. So we're going to do npm publish. And we're going to publish mylib, the third one, 123. Now, when I was doing this earlier, this does sometimes seem to produce an error, though it does also at the same time publish okay. So let's just see whether the error comes up. Okay, let's go back to the sinopia where that was loaded. Okay, do we have that there? And let's see. That's ngserve. Yeah, so this is where it starts getting a little bit crazy. There's a lot of command prompts floating around. Okay, so you see here sinopia kind of crashed. So that's something to work on with figuring that out with them. But I believe it should already have installed that that component or package. So let's see if it did that. What we want to do is in random app. In fact, we'll do this in a test location in first. cd test. This is just a test project, and we'll do npm install -- save mylib at 1.2.3. Okay, so see if it can pull that from the sinopia package repository. Okay, so it will have to redo the push. Now, let's try this one more time. npm install. No, that's that one. That's sinopia. And here, just use mylib npm publish. So let's try the publish again. Clear this. Okay, so unexpected token. Okay, this still might have worked. Let's double check if sinopia is running. So that's still running, that's good. And then install, let's try the install mylib again. So just to go over what we did is we tried to push mylib at version 1.2.3 up into the sinopia repository, which is local. Sinopia crashed, so we tried it again. Now it should have installed it, and we want to test to see whether we can install from the sinopia repository into this test project. Okay, so we're having a problem with sinopia, but let's just double check test here, which we're not going to be able to resolve right now without doing some extra troubleshooting. So what I'd rather do with the rest of the time is to see if you have any questions. Okay, so let's just minify these and then go to test and take a look under node modules. Node modules has a mylib. Let's see what version. Yeah, it doesn't seem to be the right version of mylib. Okay, so everything worked up until the point where we were using this sinopia repository. You know, if you want, there are other local repositories. That's just one that's available. So if you want to use a local repository, just do a search for various repositories and download one. And it's usually pretty easy to install with npm and to use. Okay, so to wrap things up, we will just go through the code one more time to explain what happened. We created myapp2. Okay, myapp2 has a source directory with its own components. So this is a regular project. Into myapp2, we added a mylib library project. The library project lives under projects. We went in there, we customized it slightly by changing the message in the component. And then we did a build. The build of that created a npm compatible package inside this distribution directory. Okay. The myapp2 project has visibility into anything into distribution, so it just naturally is able to pull from there as long as you add some code. Okay, and that code is just what you would normally add. Let's go into source, and under app module, you needed to add this: import mylib component from mylib and you needed to add it to declarations, just your standard declaration. Once you did that, you could go into your component and you could add the component in it. Okay? That's how it works inside of my app. Okay? If you want to move this library outside, you go into the mylib directory under distribution, and under there, you're going to run a package. You're going to pack this library, and you can pack it to give it change the version number and pack it, and it'll create an archive file. Okay. The easiest way to use that archive file is to then do an npm install command that points directly to that file. Okay. So you could just pass that file around to different projects. They can do an npm install from that tar.gz file. That's what we did in random app. Okay. We did an install, and then under node modules, our lib that we created was installed, and then we just added it to the project the way we would add anything that was installed in node modules. We went to app module, we imported it. This time in this project, it's coming from mylib under node modules, whereas in the other project, it was coming from mylib under distribution, right? And then you add it to declarations, and of course, add it to the component itself, and use the library component that you created. Okay. So that's what we wanted to cover. I just wanted to see if there were any questions, and we can use the Q&A box for that. Okay, that'll be part of the controls for the webinar. And let's see here, more chat. It looks like there might be some questions under chat. Okay, looks at the very beginning there were some problems here in the audio. Yeah, I was looking at the Q&A rather than the chat. So let's see if there's any questions now. Put them in either location, in the chat or under Q&A. Okay. Okay, looks like Sean has raised his hand. Okay, so let me just, doesn't look like there are any questions. Let me bring this back up here. Okay, so thank you for attending. This webinar was made possible by WebAge Solutions, which is a training company. It does all types of technology trainings. Related to the content that we worked on today, there are some upcoming classes: Introduction to Angular 6, Comprehensive Angular 6, Angular 6 Deep Dive. These are all different classes that we offer. And we are working on an Angular 7 that should be out within a week or two. Angular 7 is not that much different. There's a couple extra features, but it's pretty much a plug and play with existing Angular 6 projects, in case you were wondering. Okay, so if you want to contact us, it's webagesolutions.com. Okay, I don't see any other questions, so just check down here. Okay, please type. Nope, don't see anything else. Okay, so that's it then. Thanks for attending. Good luck with your Angular programming. Okay, and check in with us. We also have other free webinars that you can find on the WebAge Solutions site. So certainly go up there. And if you have training needs, of course, you can give us a call and we can take care of that.